Before we get started, please go over to Amazon.com and grab a copy of my book, Education and Justice. If you have an African-American son in public school, you need this book because I teach you the many ways that public schools mistreat African-American boys and what you can do to help your son. So go over there and get your copy immediately. You know who is not afraid of Trump and MAGA? Strong black men. Strong black men. And that's for a number of reasons. I mean, we grew up seeing strong black men stand up to white supremacists. Our father stood up to them. Our grandfather stood up to them. Our great and great-great-grandfathers stood up to them. What can they do to us that hasn't been done already? So we are not afraid like a whole lot of these other folks are afraid. We're not. Because there's nothing like a strong black leader, a strong black male or female leader. And today I'm going to talk about two who are standing up to Trump, who are defying Trump. And as I was talking about strong black leaders, Fannie Lou Hamer came to mind. One of the strongest, fearless women in civil rights history. In fact, my favorite civil rights female leader, Fannie Lou Hamer, go look her up. She stood up to the power structure. She spoke truth to power. So yes, look, what can they do to us that hasn't been done already? Hey family, do you believe in the work we're doing? Does our content speak to you? Do you appreciate our in-depth legal analysis and political commentary from an African-American perspective? Do you believe it matters to our community? Then don't just watch from the sidelines. Please click that membership button and become a member of the 2% Club today. That's right, we need just 2% of our subscribers to become channel members. For just $4.99 a month, that's less than 20 cents a day, you'll help us keep creating powerful content that defends our democracy, demands justice, and develops a strong African-American community. But if you want more, at $9.99 a month, which is only 33 cents a day, you'll get access to exclusive members-only live streams, bonus content, and behind-the-scenes updates. And for just $14.99 a month, which is under 50 cents a day, our top-tier members get access to live Zone calls, strategy sessions, and a direct voice in shaping this movement. We're not just building a YouTube channel. Folks, we're building a movement based on righteousness and justice, just what our community needs in a time of disinformation and division. So if you believe in what we're doing, click the membership button and join now. Become a member of the 2% Club today. Let's build something powerful together. And so I want to share with you the story of two men. One of them you should know already. Here they are. One is Brandon Johnson, the mayor of Chicago, and the other one is Greg Washington, Dr. Greg Washington, who is a college president of George Mason University. And both of them are defying Trump fearlessly, or at least courageously. There may be some fear there. There may be some concern there. With the way these folks are out here doing, just essentially going after people for all kind of things. So it's understandable to be concerned and so on, but courage enables you to stand up even when you may feel some concern about what you're doing. And I think about scriptures like, the Lord is the strength of my life. Who shall I fear? And the Lord is the light of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? And I think of so many others. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. but every tongue that rise up against me, I shall condemn. So we have the word of God. We have examples. And therefore, we can stand up against what is happening right now in our country, the anti-blackness that we're seeing. So let's look at a letter that Brandon Johnson released from his office. And I want to talk about it just a little bit because I really want to get over to Dr. Greg Washington of George Mason University. We all know Brandon. He's been in the news standing up to Trump. You know, when Trump announced that he was going to be sending the National Guard and so on to Chicago, Brandon Johnson stood up. So we know about him, and he's been in the news. But Dr. Greg Washington, I don't know if you know about him. So let's go ahead and look at this press release that Mayor Johnson issued yesterday, in fact, September 16th. And it is in response to Trump and Pam Bondi talking about going after people for hate speech and anyone who says things that they find objectionable. They announced that they would be going after those people. So Brandon Johnson issued this press release. I thought it was very courageous for him to do so. Today, Mayor Brandon Johnson signed the right to protest executive order, which seeks to protect the free speech rights of every Chicagoan. The order, which builds upon Mayor Johnson's sweeping Protecting Chicago initiative, ensures that even in the face of interference from the federal government, the Chicago Police Department, CPD, will protect Chicagoans' First Amendment rights while taking appropriate measures to preserve public safety. This goes on to say Chicago has long been a center of civic action, from the labor uprisings of the Haymarket era to the civil rights movement, and today is no different, said Mayor Brandon Johnson. The city of Chicago has proven time and time again that we can safeguard demonstrations of any size while protecting First Amendment rights. With this executive order, we affirm that Chicago will remain a place where democracy and freedom reign. Today, we proclaim that all residents and visitors can peacefully assemble, petition their government, and speak freely in our city. This executive action is about being proactive so that we are prepared for any possible large-scale demonstration in response to the increasingly reckless federal government. All right, now, that's all the time I want to spend talking about this because I do have another video coming out dealing with free speech, especially, again, in light of the fact that President Trump said that he will seek, or they're considering seeking, RICO charges against protesters. I want to give you some legal information about that announcement because many people hear about RICO charges but don't know what that RICO statute says. Well, I'm going to break it down for you in another video. But right now, I want to once again talk about the story of Dr. Greg Washington, who is the president of George Mason University. And Dr. Washington has showed tremendous courage over the past few months. So let's go to another screen so that we can see how courageous Dr. Washington has been. All right. So it says at George Mason University, Trump has found an unbending adversary. Gregory Washington, George Mason's first black president, runs a university that prizes diversity. That has made him a target of the Trump administration. So he's being targeted. Let's read a little bit of this story. This particular article came out September 6th. Gregory N. Washington, the first black president of George Mason University, remembers the tumult on campus as he began his new job in 2020. It was the era of Black Lives Matter, and students were protesting over the man the school is named after, a complicated Virginia historical figure and slaveholder. Demonstrators were demanding that a statue of Mason on campus be torn down, Dr. Washington said. 5 years later, George Mason's statue remains intact, and politics are once again convulsing college campuses. But instead of contending with student protests, today Dr. Washington, who made it his mission to reduce racial tensions at George Mason, is in the crosshairs of the Trump administration, accused of violating the Civil Rights Act by discriminating against white academics in hiring and promotions. And it just, as a civil rights attorney, it just trips me out when the Trump administration uses the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to go after black people. And the Civil Rights Act was enacted for the African American community primarily, although it protects others, because of the history and the legacy of civil rights violations of African Americans. And now the Trump administration has turned the Civil Rights Act of 1964 on its head, based on the bogus reverse discrimination claims. It is just amazing that this man, who has dealt with all sorts of racial discrimination, is being targeted because he and the university that he leads value racial diversity. That's just amazing. That is a misuse and abuse of the Civil Rights Act, because most of the universities around the country, their students are white men, white males. And then the other large majority, or the other largest group, are white females. And yet the Trump administration is coming after him because he's trying to bring diversity to the university and is trying to do it legally. So if we go back to this article, President Trump's interpretation of the Civil Rights Act, historically aimed at protecting black people and members of other minority groups from discrimination, has infuriated his critics. And as if to twist the knife, the Trump administration has also demanded a personal public apology from Dr. Washington over his efforts to support racial diversity, which it described as unlawful discrimination. So they're wanting this black man to bend the knee, to come on bended knee and offer a public apology. And what is his crime? Trying to diversify a school named after a slaveholder. This is Looney Tunes. And they're going after him, wanting him to bend the knee and apologize. I'm sorry, Mr. Trump, sir. Mr. Trump, sir, I'm so sorry, sir. So sorry, sir. So sorry. I don't know what I was thinking, sir. I don't know what I was thinking, sir. This is just horrendous, what our nation is experiencing right now. It really is. But this black man is standing and defying the Trump administration. Dr. Washington has refused, quote, "It's to protect my reputation and the reputation of the campus," he said in an interview last week. The refusal has made the George Mason president one of the few university leaders who has explicitly and publicly challenged the Trump administration. He joins a short list of other higher education leaders, including the presidents of Harvard and Princeton. But unlike many of his peers, Dr. Washington has been targeted as an individual. And so his choice to resist the Trump administration's demands leaves him in an uncommonly precarious position. Singling out a black leader in this way is not only unprecedented, but also deeply troubling. The university chapter of the American Association of University Professors said in a statement last week, "The Trump administration has made attacking universities central to its agenda. Higher education leaders argue that their institutions are the pillars of fact-based scientific inquiry and freedom of expression. President Trump and his supporters have argued they are elitist and focus on indoctrinating new generations into liberal ideologies. So much for the First Amendment. And I thought it was the conservatives, I'll say more about this later, who just raised a hissy fit just a couple of years ago about free speech. All right, let's read some more of this article. But George Mason stands in stark contrast to the exclusive institutions Mr. Trump has targeted. It offers admission to 90% of its applicants. Many are middle-class students from Northern Virginia. It is also among the most diverse campuses in the country. Dr. Washington has faced some criticism from faculty at George Mason over his handling of diversity, but also of pro-Palestinian protests on campus, but many support him. The claims that he violated the Civil Rights Act have taken Dr. Washington by surprise. Of course it should. The U.S. Education Department gave him a deadline of September 1 to agree to issue an apology. That is just personally offensive. They're trying to emasculate this black man for standing up. And he said, it's very confusing and frustrating, to be honest with you. At several other universities, federal pressure, first from congressional Republicans, has led to the resignation of high-profile presidents. You remember Dr. Claudia Gay, who was president of Harvard. She had to resign. On Thursday, Northwestern University's president, Michael Shield, who has faced aggressive questioning by congressional Republicans, stepped down after the Trump administration also forced nearly $800 million from the school. But few presidents have been targeted quite as personally as Dr. Washington. The Education Department's Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights, Craig Traynor, upped the pressure in a statement last month saying Dr. Washington, quote, waged a university-wide campaign to implement unlawful DEI policies that intentionally discriminate on the basis of race, the statement said, adding, you can't make this up. Trying to diversify a university in Northern Virginia that is named after a slaveholder is not unlawful, illegal, or unconstitutional. Or at least it shouldn't be. Already, Dr. Washington's job appeared in jeopardy amid speculation that some right-leaning members of the George Mason board would like to see him ousted. For his part, and this is where our strength comes from right here, for his part, Dr. Washington says his life has been guided by grace. And he has often invoked a Bible passage from Isaiah as his guiding star. And it says, quote, no weapon formed against me shall prosper, close quote. Now, 59, he was born in Harlem to a 15-year-old mother. At 12, while standing on a street corner, he witnessed a drug deal for the first time. Of a couple dozen friends he hung out with on 130th Street, only 3 made it out, he has said. And when I say made it out, I mean we're not dead in prison or doing drugs. He told an assembly of students in 2016. The family moved to Raleigh, North Carolina, where he joined a small minority of black students at a mostly white high school. He adapted and prospered, earning 3 degrees in mechanical engineering from North Carolina State University. This brother should be celebrated and applauded. And he also proves that black people are not born to be criminals. He overcame all his circumstances and is now in a position to try to help other young blacks get an opportunity to pull themselves out of those circumstances. And for that, he's being targeted. For that, they're claiming he is discriminating against whites who already dominate college admissions. This administration is just unjust in the things that it's doing, especially to African American people. And just remember, almost 2 million black people voted for Trump. And an increasing number of young black men between the ages of 19 and 27 voted for him. And a whole lot of other blacks listening to pro-black imposters didn't vote at all intentionally. Again, listening to pro-black imposters. And look at the price we are paying. I told you months ago that this would not work out well for us if we help reelect Donald Trump. And so many black people did it anyway. They voted for him, or they didn't vote. They trashed Kamala. If Kamala was in office right now, we would not be dealing with this crap. Some people show up on the channel and comment dumb stuff like, well, she wouldn't be no better. So you mean to tell me Kamala be going around firing these black people, high-ranking military people, high-ranking people in the university, trying to kill DEI, which is resulting in a record number of black women losing their job and black men losing their job, increasing unemployment to 7.5%. And that's just a short list of what the Trump administration is doing to the African American community. And you come up here on my channel and say some dumb stuff like things would be the same if Kamala was in office? What is wrong with some African American, black American, whatever you want to call yourself? What is wrong with you folks? And some of you got the nerve to say that you would still vote for him again, despite all he has done to our community. That is just what one expert attributes to being centuries in slavery. That's how it warped our minds. That's how it warped the minds of some black people, and it has been just passed down. And you can see that very same behavior in the Bible for the children of Israel after they had been enslaved for 400 years. They did the same type of foolish behavior because of how slavery and oppression had warped their thinking. It got so bad that God allowed them to wander in the wilderness for 40 years until everybody over 20 years old died because their thinking was just that jacked up. And that's exactly the way a lot of black people think, because there's just no way anyone who was thinking clearly would have voted for Donald Trump in light of what they were planning and laid out in Project 2025 in the mandate, which I made multiple videos warning black people not to do it because of what they intend to do. And everything they said that I told you was in Project 2025, we are now dealing with it. Yet the pro-black imposters said, don't vote for Kamala, vote the couch, vote for Trump, as well as some rappers, some black conservatives, and look at the price we're paying. And we have over 3 more years of this. Look at the price we're paying. Folks, it's sad. It's sad It's a sad state of affairs that we helped put ourselves in this situation by voting for this man who promised us nothing. When I started making YouTube videos, all I heard was, you don't vote for anyone unless they promise you tangibles. Trump didn't promise not one tangible, and now he's taken away tangibles. And those same pro-black imposters are now trying to act like they're concerned about the black community. Trying to sound like they are angry with Stephen Miller and other folks in MAGA when they helped Stephen Miller get in power. But there are some strong black leaders like Brandon Johnson and Greg Washington that we should be following and should be listening to. And so I shout out both of these brothers here. I shout them out. I shout them out. I shout them out. All right, I'm Reverend and Civil Rights Attorney Augustus Corbett. Thank you for watching this video. And remember, stay woke.